without further ado. And right now we are going to be having Dr. Paul Amayo. Also, we have Victor Ashton who has joined already. Dr. Paul will really be focusing on AI and the future of employment, looking at the opportunities and the challenges regarding these issues. He will be sharing his ideas on that. Then after that, we're going to have some questions. Then we'll also have Victor after that sharing briefly. Let me just introduce Dr. Paul for now, then later I'll introduce Victor. Dr. Paul is a senior lecturer and principal investigator at the African Robotics Unit of the University of Cape Town. He earned his PhD from Oxford University. He has a PhD in robotics, but he's actually a major player in the AI ecosystem in Africa. Also a researcher with Google. So it's really a huge honor for us to have him to spend these few minutes with us, sharing with us some of the things that are happening in the space, hopefully to inspire and instruct us as we navigate our career trajectory. Dr. Paul, it's really an honor to have you, sir. Thank you. You're on mute.
Thank you very much, Kenny, for that introduction. I hope that you introduced yourself as well, because I know you can be very humble. Thank you for that. Let me go ahead and share my slides if that's okay with everybody. Are you able to see the slides?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So I'm going to be spending kind of maybe roughly 20 or so minutes just talking about AI and the future of employment, some opportunities and challenges that exist in this space. Just as a bit of background, I'm a member of the African Robotics Unit. So we're a group of researchers at the University of Cape Town who study problems that we as Africans are uniquely positioned to solve. So we are trying to use robotics and AI and all of the, the fancy words, but primarily we're looking at problem solving. We understand that there are some challenges within our continent and within our context, and we try and see how best we can use this technology to look at it. So I look at particularly, I'm looking at particularly these questions that impede adoption of robotics. So what are the barriers there, and how can we create technology that kind of reduces the barriers? Because the technology exists and it can be used in a useful manner. So what I do is I study robots and how they interact with the space around them. And I want to enhance kind of human-robot interactions and deploy the robots for long periods and create more safer and more useful autonomous systems. So we have in this lab, we have some ground robots. We have some marine robots. We have some drones that are seated on a desk. And we also have some leg robots that we mostly use for show. And I think this background is a little bit important because I think one of the things that we see when you're talking at least about AI and the conversation about AI and the employment is that we have a variety of definitions of AI. I think generally in the last kind of 3 or 4 years, we've seen this exponential growth in interest in AI applications, and AI use cases. But AI has been around for a very long time. I think they call this like the golden age of AI. So AI, artificial intelligence, as it's named, is just when a computer performs a task that usually requires human reasoning. So if we want to be able to do mathematics and you do 2 + 2, that's artificial intelligence. Counting is not a simple task. It requires intelligence in order to do that. But you don't consider your calculator nowadays AI, because we're in an age where you can go into your phone, go to ChatGPT and ask it to create an image of how you'd look like in 50 years, and it'll be able to get something like that. So we are in this phase of generative AI, where AI is able to kind of not just understand the context behind or like go through data that has previously been given to it, but it's able to generate new things. And for humans, that really signals a lot of intelligence. So we're moving towards this what you call AGI, which is general intelligence, where an AI agent would be able to know would be able to reason over multiple tasks. So it's exciting, but it's also has some challenges. So how has this reshaped industries? We've seen kind of in the last few years a huge pivoting towards generative AI, not only from the big tech industries, but from quite a lot of people there. Every industry wants to see, okay, this technology exists and it's pervasive and it's now becoming ubiquitous. How do we use this? But it's important to understand how this is going to impact the future of work. And why we need to understand this is because, we are the ones who are in the world. We are the ones who are going to use it. Fortunately or unfortunately, at least in Africa, we are still playing a little bit of a lagging role in its development. So we have to be very clear about its impact in order to ensure that we chart a really good trajectory to making sure that it's useful for all of us citizens, not just something that comes and we have to adopt to it or something like that. We have to be, even if we're not the lead developers, but we have to at least agree how we are going to consume it. So in true kind of 2024 style, I went to ChatGPT and I asked it to give me 10 slides about AI and how it's going to give me and how it's going to impact employment. And the slides were reasonable by themselves, but I think the interesting thing is that you have to also know a lot before using these agents. So I'll just go through them, giving my own insights as well. So the impact across sectors has been felt kind of almost everywhere. I'm in the robotics sector, and with manufacturing, we've seen kind of huge amount of growth there using robotics and AI. So the robotics has been able to move from really lab-based environments into assembly lines, into the outside environment where you can actually start making impact. So this is what the goal of our lab is, and this has been done in very many labs all across the world. Another interesting use case of AI, which is and one of the real kind of success stories of African kind of deep tech innovation, is a company called InstaDeep that does that created algorithms for protein sequencing. So in the healthcare space, the use of AI, because I know like sequencing DNA, sequencing proteins is a huge amount of, it requires a huge amount of computation. And so to be able to come up with new drugs, you need to come up with really intelligent ways. And so this company, it's one of the unicorns from North Africa. And I'd recommend you to just look at their story. It's really inspiring and really African success story. But another one is in retail with customer service agents. With these GPTs, you're able to have conversation with AI agents, and this is changing how retail is going around. It's changing how people deliver service, how people deal with queries, how people deal with complaints, and so it's going into a really new age after this kind of birth of these new agents. And with this, they come new opportunities. So the demand for AI specialists is increasing exponentially. We see these jokes on kind of on LinkedIn or somewhere else where they say we require somebody with like 10 years experience working with ChatGPT, while ChatGPT was released 2 or 3 years ago. This is how much demand there is. Data scientists, AI engineers, machine learning experts, because this field is now going into various different domains. It's no longer just research for the sake of research. It's very applied, and it's kind of spanning everywhere. At the same time, there's a lot of growth of roles in kind of AI ethics. Is how do we think about interactions with this in terms of a sociological perspective? How do we develop products that are usable by humans? How do we guard against some kind of skepticism and fear about using AI, and I think you can see all of the disclaimers on on these agents that sometimes the information that it gives you could be wrong. So there's a lot of thinking that's coming in. So we are seeing new fields being birthed, both on the technical side and on the non-technical side, on the kind of human side as well. New industries such as autonomous vehicles, AI-enhanced healthcare, where you can get personalized medicine, are also coming up. So it's bringing in new opportunities just by having this general sense. At the same time, there are some threats. It doesn't things that are routine and repetitive are very at risk. And there's a huge potential impact on employment in Africa, in particular. So in places where you have a bottom line that you need to meet, or a lot of companies have a bottom line that they need to meet, they start saying, oh, can we use this AI agent in place of start making these trade-offs that have an impact on employment, as opposed to in other places where we have such a huge amount of new roles that people can really go into. So in a sense, we're going into a new age with really big opportunities, but we still have quite a lot of threats, and we have to kind of deal with these threats as well. But AI it's also shifting our skill sets. So we are being allowed in many ways to think in a bit more creatively, in like more cognitive skills over repetitive tasks. I'll give you, for instance, some of my work. The university requires me to write code, and I write a lot of code, but a lot of it is repetitive. I go and I pick it from this place, and I put it on this place, and I move it here, and I move it there, because the tasks have already been done. I already know what I'm trying to do, but I have to go through the mechanics of actually just taking this here and taking this here and putting this here and taking this there. And with some, at least with the kind of development of AI, now that time has dropped by 50%. So nowadays I can spend my time reading a book. I can spend my time going for a walk. I can spend my time on things that I actually consider important. So there's a lot of time saving that's coming into various industries. This is just one example of it. If you spend a lot of your time writing, doing a lot of synthesis, if you write very long form emails, like using AI agents is quite useful. And so you get these from a personal standpoint, you get this productivity benefit, but it's actually just improving. It's putting to the foreground your cognitive and your creative skills, because everybody in the world is getting those benefits. But you still require a lot of digital literacy. To engage with a lot of the AI tools or AI infrastructure, you at the very minimum need a smartphone with some internet connection, and you need to be able to keep up. The new products are coming in like day over day. If we look at it from an academic standpoint, papers that were released 6 months ago are out of date. So imagine now on the kind of production environment where things are really coming. The volume of development is really huge. And so this pushes us to this idea of kind of lifelong learning, and continuous upskilling will be critical. Because again, we call it over-indexing on a particular thing, where you say that this is going to be the task, this is going to be the thing that I know, and I know it very well. But in 2 years, that might not be the thing that's the most relevant. So embracing this idea of growing and upskilling is going to be really critical in order to really get the benefits of this new kind of age that's coming up. And then also again in the workplace. So AI can do a lot of data analysis, and this again, it frees us for these creative and strategic roles. We reducing the mundane. We going into what is the meat of the matter. And so in various industries, this is changing how much you work, what you work on, what kind of roles they're having. And in a way, the mundane and the annoying sometimes pieces of work are slowly going away. It's not to say that everything that you use AI for is going to be mundane and boring. It can be actually super interesting. But we are seeing this also new kind of collaboration. So new human to AI collaboration. So this is changing how industries are playing. Some companies have adopted it. Early adopters have come in, and some are, not as haven't adopted it as much. So you have this curious balance of where people are doing it in their private life, they're using it, but others, as in enterprise mode, also coming in. But you can't have you say there's no free lunch. There are a huge amount of ethical and social challenges. One of them is kind of job displacement. If you're in a workplace that is suddenly introducing these tools, and you have people who've been using paper-based tools for their entire careers, it's that reskilling and upskilling work it's not trivial, and managing that kind of digital divide between different generations, different areas, your urban versus your rural or semi-rural or peri-urban, where, for instance, it's normal to just be on your phone on the internet here because the internet might be cheap or just kind of always where you are, but for somebody else it might not be, and that puts a huge places you at a huge advantage when it comes to using these tools, as opposed to somebody who is now getting a computer for the first time, getting familiar with these things for the first time. It's a huge gap that needs to be jumped. And then the other thing is that these AI systems are not perfect. They're made by humans, developed by humans who have particular biases and particular points of view. And we tend to think that AI is bringing them all together into this uniform bias-free place, but it actually is not. We see this in hiring applications where you can get systemically discriminated against. We've seen this in kind of, at least in the United States case, where they use it for policing or for other security places. We get huge amount of bias coming in, and there's a huge push now to understand how AI algorithms work in order to reduce that bias. And then again, we have this ethical use of AI. If you now have this productivity that's you're able to do double the work, does this mean that your employer now expects double from you at a particular point in time? And now how do they start monitoring? How do they start monitoring this work and using it for surveillance to see how many keystrokes you've put in? And so it comes in with its own kind of challenges, and we need to kind of fully see this. And there's, in terms of policy, we've seen the African Union has put up some new policy around AI and how it's going to be used, but again, we are still lagging a little bit with regards to this. So just to conclude quickly, and then we can go into some questions. The future of work is not just about AI replacing jobs, but it's actually about evolving them. Many of the things that we do can benefit from some aspect of AI and AI use, and it's important that we remain adaptable to this. It's important that we are continuously learning about this, but at the same time, it's important for the developers to be very ethical about how they use it. If a new product comes in, that the marketplace won't just immediately govern new products, because the market, there's a huge amount of people are using this. If ChatGPT 5.3 comes out, before they figure out all of the unethical things about it. There have been 1 million or 500 million users already on it. So there's a huge scale to which these things are being deployed. The huge velocity with which these things are being deployed requires some ethical AI development. And it'll be really important between governments, businesses, and workers to shape the future of this. So again, we're not just pedestrians going into this AI journey. We have a huge amount of sway. We have a huge amount of agency in this system, and we can dictate how and where things go to certain extents. So we need to empower ourselves. The key takeaways is empower ourselves, constantly be learning. It's a tool just like many other tools. And it's a tool just like many other tools before us. When doing an older presentation, I had a chance to look at how the world reacted to PowerPoint. And it was like, oh my God, it's going to change everything about us. This is going to be this is going to take away all of the jobs, because people no longer have to do typesetting, or how do people do presentations anymore. And right now, everybody uses PowerPoint, other than me, who uses Canva. But you understand that a tool can be embraced, and it can be made good, and it can have impact. But as long as we recognize it for what it is, rather than fearing it for what it could be, then we can make the best use of it. So thank you. That's the end of my prepared presentation. I'll be opening up for questions and conversation.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul. That's been really, really, really enlightening. Guys, just be putting down your question and be thinking through your question. You can put them on the chat, box. I have a question for you, Dr. Paul. You've alluded to it, but maybe more explicitly, I want to see how you react to it. With the rise of AI and robotics, what new job roles do you see emerging, which did not exist, let's say 5-10 years ago? How are you seeing the labor market moving in terms of new job roles? And how maybe you can also give advice as to how one can pivot to take advantage of these new opportunities.
Yeah, so certainly one of the kind of big roles currently is kind of AI in front of a job title. So you're an AI product manager, AI product developer, which some people, we can laugh at it, but I think there is some truth to that, because of the volume of applications that are coming in. It requires this is a skill set on its own, because it's a rapidly changing field. New products have a very short shelf life, and maintaining relevance in this place where people have a very short attention span is actually really important. So I think maybe I would call it like reframing of jobs rather than developing new jobs. So where people can go and reskill is not in the same way. And I'm speaking mostly about the non-technical roles. The technical roles, I think the computer science, when you go to school and you study computer science to be an AI scientist, you're doing computer science. It's just like somebody who's doing computer science to be something else. Speaking about it in a sense of, I have a business, or I'm a business owner, and I'm looking for these new skills in order to properly capture the AI developments. What are the kind of people that I'm looking for? And I'm looking for product managers who know how these things work. I'm looking for somebody who understands the ecosystem, and I'm looking for somebody who can advise that, no, I said it before, it's over-indexing. If you bet too much on one, and then another one comes out that's too powerful, and all of your pipelines are on the old one, you've lost out a little bit. So that's where I see that, and I see it in being flexible, I see it in being adaptable, and I see it in being kind of trainable. And that's my general advice.
Awesome. Fantastic. One more question from me. Then, audience, please be putting down your question. I'll come back to it. Just one more question. You are an educator, of course. You're a practitioner. You're a researcher in artificial intelligence, but you're also an educator.
Yes.
One of my co-authors, we are having a conversation recently, and he is an American professor. He is actually worried that very soon they are going to, none of them will be needed because you have all these chat tutor, AI tutor, and the rest. Professor, in fact, Harvard had some of their computer science courses being taught by AI now. So what role do you see educators play? Because if AI can teach more patiently and can bring things to your level, what is your role as a lecturer? Why do I need you?
No, that's a really good question. I think with AI you can get very personalized, and you're very right. You can get very personalized, but I think one of the dangers of it is that when you're learning something for the first time through an AI agent, you need to be able to trust that this person knows what they're doing. There's an implicit trust that comes by, if I go to you, Dr. Kene, and a university has given you this degree and said that you are an expert in so and so. So when you say something, I believe in the things that you've said. I think the danger on the AI side is that it's taken all of the information from the internet and sent it to you in a way that's very appealing to you, but the sum of it might not be the truth. So I think there's still a huge role where the educator themselves, even as they prepare the material, have to make sure that this information that's getting to you is true. It might be repackaged in a way that's good through this AI agent, but at the base of it, a human is still there making sure that it's true. And it's the same way that, like, if we before COVID we couldn't teach online, and when COVID came, people are like, oh, how can we ever start doing things online? But we did. And so I see this as an evolution rather than a threat. You're muted.
Okay, so we have some questions there. I know you have another meeting soon, so we have some questions here. First, we have from Mahan, who is asking, to what extent do you think, okay, let me just ask the second part because you've answered this first part. What jobs do you think are mostly at risk of being taken over by AI and automation?
Yeah, so I think I think I alluded to kind of repetitive jobs that have a lot of repetitive tasks. So if your data entry or something like that, which can be automated away quickly. So there's this scale of things that it's used. I'll find the right term and send it to you, Kenneth, so that you can give the audience. But the closer a skill has been invented, the closer it has been for a skill to be invented, the more at risk it is for automation. So the skill that is at least risk for automation is agriculture. So if everybody is a farmer,
wow.
Yeah. So in human history, the farther away you've been, technology has been invented, the less at risk it is for automation. You go back throughout human history. So new roles such as data entry, roles that have come up with the computer, can also be subsumed by the computer. And that is where they mostly lie. So you'd hardly see kind of an entire police force that doesn't have a police officer, because security is an inherently human thing. We need to trust. So yeah.
I would push back on that a bit, because yesterday I saw a video that of a robot that could serve as an AI girlfriend. So what should be more personal than girlfriend and boyfriend if they are building AI boyfriends and girlfriends these days?
No, I mean, if the entire world will not go that way, maybe a select few.
Okay. Someone is asking if you can make the slides available, Dr. Paul. Okay, so maybe if you send it to me, we'll pass it to them. Then someone, Nation says something, say for every 2 jobs lost to automation, 3 new jobs are created. How do you evaluate this statement that is attributed to the World Economic Forum? So for every 2 jobs replaced, 3 jobs are created. And then the second part of the question is that what are the implications for humans to machine learning and half-life of modern skills?
And half-life of modern skills.
Yeah.
So
the rate at which skills evolve.
So I think I said this before. It's a very rapid pace, but even for traditional roles such as like an educator, a professor, or something like that, you have to be able to adapt to it. It is changing how we think about things, but there are still fundamentals to it. There's still fundamental knowledge. It's underpinned by really fundamental statistics, really fundamental mathematics. And I think getting if you can get the fundamentals, the new products are just new products. They're just being packaged in a different way. So maybe that's the thing to survive or to make it through the age, is like, what are the fundamentals? What is it doing? If it's generative, that means we are creating something from nothing in a way, but we are getting better at creating something from nothing in different industries, and so that skill is still fundamental, and that one doesn't disappear even if the product itself goes away. And to the 2 to 3, so it's interesting kind of conversations about job losses and job creation, and it's here in the African continent. I think it varies a lot by area, by region, by space. In the city, it might be skewed in one direction. Out of the city, it might be skewed in another direction. I think the overarching thing is that we need to bring everybody together to see what the best way is to. I don't think that this skill should exist without any regulation at all. I think you need to have, if you're going to introduce some AI agent in a company, you can't just fire half of your team because of that. So this is where government becomes a big player. This is where civil society becomes a big player, and so we just have to make sure that we put some guardrails on these.
Good. I think the last question I'll ask you is how AI can be used to support workers rather than replace them. You've alluded to this also, but how do you think young workers should start actually engaging these tools so that it doesn't replace them but enhances their profession?
Yes. So I would say that it's upskilling and reskilling. Is learning the ways this thing can improve your job, and while it improves your job, you learn what the next job is. You look at what your boss does, and you start doing it, and you start and I think the pace of it is it's really the thing that takes us all by surprise. But the end of it is still an evolution. Is now you have 50% more time. How you use that 50% more time is what matters. If AI is being introduced in your workspace, and that will make a difference going forward in your own career and in your own work. So I would encourage, even if the company doesn't have policies towards that, is the information is available. There's a huge democratization of products now that you can use, and you can on your own kind of. You can look at IBM, you can look at Microsoft, you can look at Google. They have all of these resources available, and other tech companies also have these resources available to upskill you in whatever way that you require.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's just that, like you said, the pace is actually it's so fast that it's difficult. Sometimes it's overwhelming. You don't even know how to catch up. But like you said, we just have to keep evolving and keep adapting. Dr. Paul, it's been great actually having you share your from your wealth of knowledge. I'm sure the participants, of course, the fact that they are demanding your slide means they are so interested that they want to even learn more. Thank you, sir, for making time for this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Kenny, for inviting me. And yes, thank you. Cheers.